This morning I'm going to be talking about building organizational capacity and core competencies through collaborative leadership. Without a doubt, we all know that this is, going through the topic itself. It's a little bit of an academic rigor, but I want to make sure we make it very simple. And I know when I used to live in Lagos, when somebody is in the mall where he's trying to sell you something, he can lift something up and say, this little thing can cure 25 sicknesses. People will say, have you used it before? Did it work for you the way you said it will? And if you say yes, then there is a tendency that people will buy. That's the reason why I put the IDCOP model, because I want to do justice to this topic by letting the audience understand how the international development community of practice apply the model we're going to be discussing here this morning to get results. And so at the end of the day, I expect that everybody will go here to be able to apply the same principles to their various businesses, various organizations, institutions, communities, just for the betterment and upliftment of the society and sustainability. So, talk about leadership. And without a doubt, I'm not going to be talking too much about the concept here as in teaching you guys what leadership is all about. We know it. We've possibly gone to school to study about it. But it is important if we talk about how you can build organizational capacity and core competencies as a leader. So I define leadership as an intentional influence. That is, you know what you are doing. It is not just by accident. When you exert an intentional influence, when an individual do that to an organization, a process or whatever, to structure it in a direction and to guide it through a process. And just one person catch the vision and is doing it. That's pretty much what leadership is all about. So I just explain what is leadership. And without a doubt, it anchors the foundation for all organizations, be it a community, an institution, even a nation. Yesterday we listened to Dr. Binder talking about these great initiatives and incentives and everything. Without a good leader, you still can't get anything done. So leadership anchors the foundation for all organizations. That's why you see some countries are more successful than the other, and some organizations are more profitable. It's always going to be a top-down basis. We can't get a bottom-up kind of leadership structure. It's not possible. I just want to quickly run through what leaders does so that we can all have a little bit of an idea. I know we do anyway. Number one, the leader establishes the organizational vision and strategy. A leader is that individual that will set the baselines. Is the individual that we say, this is what the vision of the company is going to be. When Dell Computers was, when they started it, their vision was to provide the cheapest laptops. And at every household in America, we have one. So based on this, I don't know what the cost is in Nigeria, but one of the cheapest computers today is Dell. So also they define the management philosophy and organization culture. You understand that there is a different way of management in each organization. It is the role of the leader to define the management philosophy and organization culture. The other thing is they manage the interactions between all the interfaces, which is the external, the internal factors, because nobody is an island. No organization can exist in isolation. Even nations of the world collaborate together. So the leader has the role to manage these relationships. Most companies now, they do client relationship management, which is very critical because you cannot succeed just by doing everything inward. You have to manage external factors as well. And now the leader orchestrates and integrates all the functional units within the organization. The marketing department, the production, all the department, all the functional units of the organization. The leader will manage it and integrate it towards the vision framework. A leader also develops, they do training, they mentor, they make hard choices. I've had to fire my best friend from a work because of performance. I know I had to do it because that's the best thing to do. So sometimes leaders take that initiative. Now, when we talk about the kind of leadership, we have different types of leadership, but I'm only going to base it on 4 categories. So it's up to, individual can find out which or where they belong. Part of the problem today, and part of the problem we have in organizations, community, and institutions, is the fact that we have more bosses than leaders. There's a difference between a boss and a leader. So you got to now start thinking, and like as a project manager, are you a boss or are you a leader? So when you look at the type of leadership that we're talking about here, you see we have 4 categories here based on this framework. We have those who guide. They guide the lead to the vision framework, and they orchestrate every functional unit towards the vision framework through guidance. We have those who consult. They consult other people within the organization and outside the organization to get results. We have the facilitator, and we have the controller. You don't want to be the controller because you get little results. Those are the bosses. You see that guy trying to step on that little dude? That's not the kind of leader you want to be because you're not going to get any result. Now, this has been in the academic circles for quite some time. Management versus leadership. And consistent with the theme of this conference, which is Project Management and Leadership, Partnering for Progress, it is important for us to, both are good, don't get me wrong, you can be a manager, but it is high time we start taking our skills level from being just a manager to being a leader. And I tell you, if you look at it, like from the words of Warren Bennis, he said managers are people who do things right. We want to get things right. We want to do it right. But leaders, they do the right thing. That's the difference. So I consider this within 3 functional areas. We have the deliverable time. We have the functional responsibilities and focus. We have the relationship, which is managing both the internal and external relationship. What does a leader do? Within the deliverable time, a leader, he manages the long term. He sees the vision. He understands the vision. He's managing strategic planning and strategic competency. In the school, in the business school, that's what they call strategic management. That's what the leader does. He's not worried about what's going on every day, whereas the manager is interested in daily activities, operational competencies. I worked with a guy before. He's a Briton. He's British. He was the area manager for the northern region, and I was the district manager. I used to work then. So each time I'm going out to do something, I'll go to this guy because we share office together. Hey, I'm going this way, I'm going this, I'm doing this. So one day he called me, he said, you are a manager. I don't need to know what you do with your time. I just need results. Because you don't have to tell me you just go and manage your time. Just go wherever you want to go, do whatever you want to do. All I care for is results. That's a leader. So if you see somebody that is, well, it's okay, but I just want to kind of let you know within the deliverable time that we're talking about. When we're talking about functional responsibility, a manager is going to be concerned with the execution of organizational structure and all the things that you have set up in your vision statement, implementation of standards. A manager is going to be bothered about how do you manage competencies through compliance to standard. If your organization is ISO 9001, you want to see all your documents, you want to see all your papers, you want to look at all those. Whereas a leader provides you with a vision and innovative strategies so that you can be on your own and do things on your own and manage the process of change. And when you talk about CRM, a leader is looking for how to empower you to be able to be the real you, to be able to do the things that you need to do to succeed so that you can have commitment. Whereas a manager is looking for transactional competency. So you want to see the difference and possibly take your trade from being a manager to a leader. I tell you the truth, the problem we have in the world today is we have shortage of leaders. Managing our projects, managing institutions, organizations, if we have leaders, if we have those who build the spirit and motivation in us, things will be different. Example that I can give that many of us can relate with is Apple. If you know what Steve Jobs did at Apple, he has transformed the company. Many of the people that works at Apple, they are very successful, they are well motivated, they have they have the competency. This guy did a lot, and I believe even though he's no longer the CEO, he's still the chairman because they can't let him go. So that's just a quick snapshot on leadership versus management. So I encourage each and every one of us to try and take our trade in this beautiful profession to becoming leaders rather than staying as a manager. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with you being a manager. It just shows your own level of competency. When we talk about capacity building, quickly, everybody has a tendency to gravitate towards their area of competence. If you know how to bake, say you know how to bake a cake. When you have a visitor in your house, the first thing you want to do is you want to bake a cake for them because they will be able to appreciate it better than if you make something else. The same thing with organizations. They kind of want to gravitate towards the thing they know how to do best. And this is pretty much with every one of us. In international development, capacity is actually defined as the acquisition of skills and knowledge that a community or a country will acquire in order for them to be to move up from isolation, from poverty, from everything that negates the concept of development. That's the definition in international development. And I know that in organizations, it is not really different from that. But the difference is, what capacity are you building? Technically, we have three major categories of capacities that we have in our organizations. We have the tangible, we have the intangible, and we have the human resources. The human resources is arguably the most significant, and because that is what actually anchors individual competencies and capacities collectively combines to become the organizational capacity. So pretty much you have that going, and what a leader does is just to integrate all these parameters within the external and the internal factors, explore linkages between them, and making sure that we build a resource-based team that can always succeed. And this is just a framework for that. Now, when we talk about the human resources, each organization is responsible, and I believe this is mainly part of HRM. You want to make sure that individual project managers or individual guys in the organization develop what we call the project manager competency development framework. This actually develops your personal competencies. You want to, because it is impossible for you to essentially develop organizational capacity without individual in the organization having to develop their own competence, make sure they know what they are doing. Because me and you and you and you combine together to form the organization. In doing this, we know that if everybody does his job well, if everybody understands what he's supposed to do, without a doubt, you will be able to build the organizational competency. So this is the first step for each organization. You have to develop your personal competencies. And these are all the things that is involved in the development of your personal competencies. Because of my time, I'm not going to dwell too much on each of them, but I know that you have to learn how to lead. You have to learn how to manage. You have to develop cognitive ability. You have to be very effective in your operations. And it is very important to be very professional. And well, when I say very professional, it involves everything. Keeping to time is one of them. Because as project managers, we can't say we're going to start at 9 o'clock and we are starting at 10 o'clock. That's not good enough, but I'm not saying anything. I'm in Nigeria and I understand how that works. So we have to keep that in mind. And communication. We all know project managers spend 90% of their time doing this. This is a very critical aspect of our business. And now, after each individual develop the personal competency model, the next thing is for the organization to now look at the organization as in whole and develop the organizational competency. Now, what are the steps you take? The number one thing you want to do is you want to analyze the organizational competency needs. That's the thing you want to do. As a leader, you want to make sure that you understand what your organization needs to survive, to have the competitive advantage, what your organization needs to do. So you have to determine your needs. That's the first thing you do. When you understand what you need, then you identify what your competencies are. Are you very good with your branding? Are you good with your human resources? You have the right people doing the right thing? What are your level of competencies? When you determine that and define that, which could be referred to as gap analysis, then you want to perform a situation analysis. The situation analysis is going to help you to say, okay, well, this is my problem. And you know, every known problem is half solved. It's all depends on the will to proceed. So now you perform a situation analysis. With your situation analysis, you now devise your competency strategies. And then you go to execution, which is the most critical because you have to implement your strategy. And if it works, you will know by having evaluation. So this cycle keep going until you perfect your organizational capacity building. This is the role of a leader. This is the role for people. This could be applied to practically anything. You can use this for your institutions. You can use this framework for your communities. You can use it for your business. You can use it for projects. You have to be honest with yourself, though, when you are doing your analysis so that you identify what you need in order to get to where you need to be. So you have to develop your core competency framework, which has these 5 stuff in it. Communication, your thinking ability, your personal spirit, your problem-solving skills, and most importantly, collaboration. Collaboration. There is no organization, there is no institution, there is no community, no country that can stay in isolation. I believe yesterday Dr. Binder said part of the reasons why we have issues in our country is because we don't talk to each other. Each organization have issues. You remember 911? part of the problem in 911 was because all the organizations that are responsible for security in the states, they were not talking to each other. So otherwise, they would have been able to find out more information about what was coming at them. Yesterday, we find out also that the same database that we use for the national ID card, that we use for our census, could have been used for our passports, and things will have been cheaper and more effective. Collaboration is very key to what we do. So now, like I mentioned before, I just don't want to give all this and just walk away, because it's just going to be an academic rigor. The practicality of what we have done using this framework, I want to demonstrate to you, this beautiful audience, that it has worked. It worked for our community of practice. It is working for organizations around the world, and I trust it can work for us as well. So, the International Development Community of Practice, just quickly telling you what we do. We are, well, I say we are the leaders, and this is true, trust me, in providing forums for international development, best practices around the world. We are the global leaders. I know there are a lot of organizations that do what we do, PM for NGOs, and some of them. I don't pay attention to competitors. I concentrate on what is important for us to do. But I tell you, we are the leaders. And what we are trying to do is to build leaders. So our aim is to become the reference organization for sharing project managers, management best practices as it relates to international development. And we contribute to international development programs around the world. And you will see how we do all this in a short while. So, yeah, we develop and share up-to-date practices. We have used technology to advance the cause of humanity in the course of our processes. And based on the model that we discussed, our competency and resource capabilities, we sat down, we defined what are the things that we do need. What do we need? What do we need to do? What are the competencies that we need to develop? What are the resource capabilities that is required? Number one, in the international development world, where I belong, manpower development, education, and training remains one of the biggest resource capabilities we are trying to develop. Because we know that sometimes, and you will see in the course of this presentation, that the difference between the advanced nations of the world and the developing nations of the world lies in the degree of education, training, technological sophistication. I'm in agreement completely with Dr. Bindia yesterday how we need to incorporate science and technology into our developmental programs. Energy. This is a huge problem. I believe in Nigeria it is still. After several years and after several investments in this direction, we're still a little bit behind in energy. So we identify this as part of our competency models that we're going to be looking at. What's going on? Okay. Just a second. I don't know what I did. What? Okay. Sorry, I don't know how I got there. We are supposed not to be there yet. Okay. Well, so I don't know. I just click once and it's just going. Well, this is. Okay, okay. So well, I'm just going to leave it like this so I can. So, so what we did was based on those capability needs. We sat down at the IDCOP and we developed the knowledge content and the strategy document. I authored this document and doctored it towards the resource capability development that we're going to need to impact our communities. So pretty much we base it on all this that we do know that I already explained before. Manpower development, education and training, renewable energy, governance and policy. Something came to me yesterday. I think I had a chat with someone yesterday. We are about our Vision 2020. With the Vision 2020, we are struggling as project managers to make sure that we contribute our quota to making this a reality. If somebody here can imagine, if we have 3 or 4 senators in Nigeria that are project managers, we will get this easier done at their level because we're going to have more. Part of what we're trying to do is governance and policy, just to let you know that infrastructural development, we are still far behind in the developing nations. Our healthcare delivery is not in great shape. So definitely these are all the things that I put together in the knowledge content and strategy document that, okay. So now some of the initiatives that we have done is the African Initiative Project. Because of my passion for Africa, I started this initiative, developed a business case for it, and got the business case approved. So now we have something going in Africa. What do we aim to achieve with the African Initiative Project? Best practices and maturity in international development project management in Africa, collaboration with regional PMI chapters, strategic partnership with IDA, international development agencies, which we do have, training and manpower development, sustainability and governance, and lastly, knowledge donation. We have used all these core competencies area to actually affect a lot of communities in Africa. And I believe that even though this is just at the initial stage, but we have been able to achieve a lot based on the time frame that we have been working. These are some of the things we have done. We have been able to establish strategic partnership with ECOWAS, African Development Bank, the World Bank, IDRC, USAID. Most of the international development agencies are our partners in this, so that we can be able to leverage on the power of collaboration with them to do things in Africa. We are reaching out to PMI chapters. I have 3 pilot projects with this. Nigerian PMI chapter is my first. Second is the South Africa, and the third is Tanzania. So I'm working with this. I believe I gave a document to the PMI president yesterday. We already sent it ahead of time on how we want to engage with the PMI chapter in Lagos and be able to do some of the things we are doing. We want to be collaborating at a strategic level, and I believe that part of what we are going to be doing is reaching out for this kind of events so that we can be able to sensitize the Nigerian project managers more and more in the beautiful profession. So these are some of the things that we do. So having said that, African Initiative Project, some of the things we have been doing in knowledge donation. I mentioned the word collaboration. We have been working on this. We develop knowledge-based research, turn it into a business case, try and get funding for this, and use it to develop a region that we think is in need. This knowledge donation initiative for waste to energy project development came from a lady called Ruth Browness. I met Ruth in New York when she came to do a television program in New York. And listening to her, I realized she got a substance. She is also a consultant with the United Nations. She used to be a cabinet minister in Philippines. And I spoke with her after the presentation about how we can work together. And she presented a webinar in our community. And after the webinar, I saw the reactions. I got a lot of emails from all over the world, including the United Kingdom Department of Energy. So I said to Ruth, I said, man, we can do something from this because I see a lot of interest around the world. We developed a business case, and we took this business case to the Asian Development Bank, and they have been able to approve our initiative to the tune of $120 million. So now I have this opportunity. We can take this to any part of Africa without the country spending a farthing, not even a cent. All we need is stability in government so that we are not going to get kicked out. All we need is some kind of agreement where we're going to get it. We were having a chat with this. So this is how the plant looks like. We're going to generate up to 60 megawatts of electricity a day uninterrupted. So peradventure, this may be part of the solutions to the energy crisis in Nigeria. If any state or government or any part of Nigeria want this, you let us have a chat. We can get it going. And these are the stages, how you get your solid waste, how you burn your solid waste, convert it to energy, and all the stuff like that. And what are the gains of the batch oxygen system? Number one, disposal or tipping fees. I don't know about Abuja because I think Abuja is relatively clean or cleaner than Lagos or maybe Ibadan. I'm sorry if you are from Ibadan. I realize Ibadan might have a little bit of problem or issues with waste. So imagine you having waste and I am paying you money for your waste. So you possibly won't find waste all over the street anymore because you know your waste is money. Because all you need to do is to bring your waste to my plant, and I will pay you money for you to bring your waste. You don't have to sort it because we developed this technology for countries like Africa where they don't sort waste. So your disposal or tipping fees, you get electricity constantly. 60 megawatts of electricity a day means a lot. You also have process it to the industry, steam, low pressure, renewable energy credit. So chill water, or these are all the things that come out of it. You can also have ash, which we use in the cement industries, which we can convert to, we can use in the manufacturing of cement. When I discussed this with a group of people in Dubai, they were more interested in the water because they said we can generate water from this. So that's that. The next thing I want to talk about is another knowledge donation initiative, which we use the power of collaboration. There is this guy called Paul Stanford. He's a doctor in Australia. So we approached him. He worked on this initiative of developing international project management methodology. Up till now, we know that the PIM book is pretty much based on highly visible and tangible projects like construction, aerospace, and all those. We do have need to develop special methodologies for the international development, construction management, and also relief aid agencies and all those kind of stuff. So. And we all know that the logical framework is what most of the ID agencies used, especially the World Bank. They designed the logical framework. So what we did was to approach this in a way that Mr. Stanford through the PMI Education Foundation, got a research grant, worked on this, and its result, we are now working with Mr. Stanford to transform his result into a PMI book of standard. And we have issues with the PMI trying to change some stuff, include it in the PIN book. We are working on that, but I think they are still giving us some resistance on adding to the PIN book as a PIN book extension. But they have granted us the opportunity to have a PMI book of standards in international development methodologies. So based on all this, we see all these results coming out of Dr. Stanford's very quickly, Dr. Tim Degaja is a professor at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Through collaboration with the International Development Research Center in Ottawa, what we did was to help the people of Sri Lanka, because we realized that it's supposed to be an agriculture-based country, and they are not producing up to capacity. We work with some group of farmers in the community, and this group of farmers, from being an ordinary peasant, through knowledge initiatives, they were exporting food, and they became more, they had more education. So these are some of the that we have done. So when we talk knowledge, why knowledge? Why are we talking knowledge? I am very happy with what Venkataraman Balaji is one of the project team members. He actually mentioned that the future of food security in developing worlds depend more on knowledge than resource intensive. When you have the knowledge, we are having the same kind of program now in Senegal, where some group of people in Senegal contacted us to develop their aquaculture so that they can do more in the fishery area. So through collaboration with the university, the government, the NGO, we were able to achieve that. Now, fulfilling our initiatives as a community. These are the things that that is ongoing right now. We have the African initiative, which I mentioned, hopefully. This is going to be an ongoing initiative. It is my vision to see Africa evolving and becoming a very powerful in the development and execution of international development projects. The knowledge donation initiative is still ongoing. We are going to be developing a business case for rapidly renewable energy sources that will be available. We have sawdust, we have sugarcane, we have some of these kind of products that you can essentially generate energy from, and this is coming very shortly. The disaster recovery, we are working on that. I did a 2-day symposium, bringing all the knowledge guys from Japan and Australia and Indonesia. We work together with them on the development of a PMI book of standards on disaster recovery. So we have the resource center. Part of the things that we are doing right now, we have instituted a resource center, and I think many of us can take advantage of this because I don't know how much of awareness is in the international development in Nigeria, but our resource center is designed in such a way that you can have opportunities to link us with us. We can get you jobs in international development. We have been contacted by several ID agencies that they are looking for project managers around the world. And this is one of the things that we are doing in our resource center. I think just last week, I got a call from the regional director for the National Development for the Development Center for Enterprise in Trinidad and Tobago. She told me, Daniel, we are still looking for project managers because they requested that we help them with some project managers that can work in Haiti. And we did help them at that time, send some project managers to Haiti. And now they are still looking for stability. So we were part of the Haiti rebuilding project. We have mobile clinics in Haiti now. And I don't know if there's any need for that in Nigeria. If you want mobile clinics, we can be able to get that. It's all funded. It's all free for you. So that's one of the things we are doing. The National Development Project Methodology, I mentioned this earlier on. We are working on that. So the PIN book extension is on hold. We have issues with copyright, and the PMI is so protective of the PIN book. I think they are right. So I don't know if we're going to get through with that, but at least we can get the book of standards. So now, the model that we discussed at the beginning of this presentation has been used practically by the International Development Community of Practice. That's the reason why I take my time to make sure that it's not just an academic rigors or course that we're trying to bomb people with ideas from the books. This has worked. We have used it, we have had results, and we are developing project leaders all around the world. We are making people to understand how to do international development project management through partnerships, alliances, and creating impact in our world. You may want to visit our website. If you visit our website, you find out more about us. And as a PMI member, you are a member of the PMI Lagos chapter, Port Harcourt chapter. Our membership is free because you don't have to pay. So you can become a member and be able to log into our community. How can you engage? I organize every month. I have a webinar. We organize webinars on a monthly basis. You can join us in our webinars. I have another one coming up next week, Tuesday. It's going to be a speaker from England, Nicon. I have a big symposium coming up in November and October on international development project management, Panacea to global inequality. I really request that you join that. Our white paper, we have people that are writing white papers. We have discussion forums that you can engage in. We have social media, we have volunteers and donation and sponsorship. We have LinkedIn sites. You may join us on our LinkedIn site. And we do have, I think we have the Facebook stuff now. So, well, I don't know what has happened. I've been told to get out, right? Okay, well, pretty much that's the end of the presentation. I don't know what's going on there. Well, good. Well, so that's the presentation. Thank you. Well, unfortunately, my 2 slides requested for questions. I don't know if we still have time for that, but I will let the event organizers decide what they want to do. Technically, that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being a wonderful crowd. God bless Nigeria. Thank you. Well, I've just been advised by the president of PMI Lagos chapter that next year International Project Management Day will be governed and administered by the International Development Community of Practice. That's a very good effort or in recognition of what we do, and we hope to make the event a grand style, and we're going to be working together with them from this moment onward to take an active role in that program. Thank you very kindly. Do I have time for question and answers? Or? Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't know that because I was told I got 5 minutes to get out. Okay, so let's go quickly to question and answers now. If you have a question, any question? I hope I've not confused you guys. Any question? Wow. No questions?
Okay. There are. There's just one here.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much for your very explicit presentation. I think I'm interested in the international development aspect of your work and how you coordinate all the international development partners, the World Bank, the DFID, the UN, and so on. what sort of work do you do in Africa? Because I know that the overall objectives of the donor communities in Africa is to reduce poverty. And I'd like to know the methodology you are using with them and how you are channeling this effort towards poverty reduction.
Thank you very kindly. Number one thing, when I talk about the issue of collaboration, partnerships, alliances, this is what we do. It is impossible for me to stay in Canada and be getting things done in Australia, in Japan, in Senegal, everywhere that we have impact in Sri Lanka, if we do not collaborate. So what we do, how we reach out to the international development agencies and became partners with them. We have strategic partnership with these agencies for them to be able to understand what we're doing, because this is what they do. Naturally, the World Bank is interested in poverty alleviation, infrastructure development, bridging the gap between developing and developed nations. And so if we go to them and say, okay, you know what? We share your vision. This is what you do. This is what we do. And in understanding that we complement each other, they gave us the opportunity to partner with them. So that's how we come about those collaborations. And we have been able to use the collaborations like the presentation suggests in several parts of the world. So when we get this going, we transfer ownership to the local chapter in that country. Anything I want to do in Nigeria now has to be done through the PMI Lagos or PMI Port Harcourt. So if you want anything, I can't essentially do it on my own, because that means I will be physically present in Nigeria all the time. So we are looking for local content everywhere. So like when we did the stuff in Sri Lanka, the research was done in both Sri Lanka and in Canada. We finish all that, and then we do the business development, the business case. We gave it to IDRC. They funded it. So those are some of the way we do the collaboration. And for you, how do you get engaged? Number one thing, you can get engaged through our resource center. If you are looking for opportunity of job placement, like you want to work in ID, you want to do it either in Nigeria, we do have a lot of opportunities in Nigeria in ID. I don't know how many of you know about it. Every day, every time they send us these jobs that maybe the World Bank is looking for this, maybe the United Nations is looking for this, maybe some other international development agencies. So if you link us with us, we will be able to identify your areas of interest and link you with the employers. We are developing our website now to incorporate that into it. The PMI technical team is looking into how to incorporate that. But right now we have a resource center on our back office on our website, which some of us can access. That's how we do it. So if you want to get in touch, just let's have a chat.
Mr. Adewunmi, listening to you, really, it's one of the greatest need of Nigeria, the waste to electricity. You say you already have a fund, $120 million. So a typical plant, as you showed, what's the cost of a typical plant like that? And how many of such can you put up in a country like Nigeria? Working through PMI Lagos to get you to Lagos, to Ibadan, to...
Okay, well, to get that done, the Asian Development Bank, after we developed the business case, they agreed to a pilot project. They agreed to fund a pilot project. And the model they want to use is the design, build, maintain, operate, and transfer. So what they will do is they will do all the funding. They will do all the company called Green Energy Solutions in Manila. We put all the components together. We have the we have this workshop or whatever they call it in Scotland, and we can actually go and see it if you want. So what they do is they bring everything down to the country. When I say 120, that's the upper limit. It could be 100 million, but when you have a full capacity plant, you can generate up to 60 megawatts of electricity. And so I think that's how that works. So, okay, well, thank you. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.